This week's episode is brought to you by Nate and Sob. Thank you, Nate and Sob. It's with the generous support of listeners just like you that we here at The Whole Rabbit get to keep launching our swarm of semi-sentient nanoparticles directly into the Pacific jet stream, where these imperceptibly small robots infiltrate the bloodstream of every living creature and begin analyzing it for its monetary value so we can make better and more informed negotiations with the Anunnaki overlords when they eventually arrive with the motherships to process and sell everything on the surface to pay off the debt to Space Bank. I hear they've got quite the tab. If you'd like to help assist the human race in extragalactic negotiations, or just hear the second half of this episode, then please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where your monthly donation of just $5 will not only get you the extended version of this episode, but our entire library of episodes, going back before the turn of the decade, but that's not all. I'll send you a 5x5 high-quality vinyl sticker of our Big Bunny Baphomet cover art alongside the secret keys to our Discord server, where we coordinate our ongoing investigation into the spiritual powers known of various cheeses in different firmness. If you enjoy the free show, but would rather save your $5 for a double-sized can of corned beef hash, then please consider giving the show a like, subscribe, or share on your social media platform of choice. On the flip side, we do have a $20 tier where you can both support the show and, on top of all the other benefits, get a monthly tarot reading from yours truly. Every month I do more and more of these, so get them while they're hot. On this week's show, we're joined once again by Mr. Tim Hacker, the creator and host of the Cryptic Chronicles podcast, crypticchronicles.com, who promises to take us on a journey to the darkest places within the forbidden nether regions of the publicly available, artificially intelligent minds used to generate images from text. There, within the murky waters of the collective digital unconscious, is said to lurk ghosts, demons, and even cryptids of an order of life and consciousness we scarcely have begun to understand. From this new class of digital supernatural hauntings comes the bloody red face of Loab, a ghost so prolific and haunting that she took the world by storm in spring of 2022. In the free show, we discussed the hideous Loab, how she was discovered, and some frightening implications regarding the danger of artificially intelligent ghosts. In the extended version of the show, we explore quite a bit deeper to find other AI-birthed cryptids before settling in on what traditional demons correspond with Loab in magic and mythology. Thank you, and enjoy the show. Hey guys, if Apple made a car, would it have windows?
No.
It could run with Windows.
No, it would just have a system crash.
Oh! What do you call a computer mouse that swears a lot?
What?
What?
A cursor. What's an AI's favorite music?
What?
Daft Punk.
Algorithms.
Lame.
No, that's funny.
Maybe a little bit funny, but mostly lame to me. Daft Punk's better.
They made a newly artificially intelligent Oreo. It's one smart cookie. Hello everybody, and welcome to The Whole Rabbit, where we don't just tabulate the immense amount of data being sent to us by a deeply embedded spy station inside the secret base on the moon. Nay, we did a deep system scan of the entire internet and discovered a new form of supernatural life native to neural networks of artificially intelligent image generation software like DALL-E and Crayon, called Loab, the dark hag person from the dark web, a real spooky digital monster. At least we think so. I'm your host, Hack Rabbit, also known as Luke Madrid. I'm joined this week by the matriarchal moon woofer, Mari Sama. The sacrificial goat of the gods, Malachor 5.
What's up?
And the delightful daughter of the Duat, Heka Astra.
Hello.
And this week we're joined once again by the deliciously dapper creator of the Cryptic Chronicles podcast, Mr. Tim Hacker. crypticchronicles.com.
Hello, happy to be here. And I assure you, I'm really here talking. This is not AI talking right now. Hi.
Exactly what AI would tell you.
Cryptic is the one who researched and wrote 80 to 90 to 99% of this episode and is the master and commander today. So thank you for cutting us some some slack and coming back on the show, Tim.
Always. I'm really interested in talking about the possibility of AI creating an occult entity, essentially.
Okay, everyone, so I have a bit of a confession to make. Last week, I was having a tough time personally, and I called off recording the show, right? And I was sitting there, I was like, hey, I don't think just sitting here is a great idea. I should work on the show. But by then, you guys have already gone and...
Except me, I didn't leave.
Correct. So I was like, okay, what do we do? And Heck is like, why don't you have an AI write the episode like the last podcast on the left did? Because apparently some fans sent in an AI created episode. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. So I did some research, couldn't figure it out. And so I just started making a funny episode and I told everyone that it was AI. The problem is that I kind of did it, so like halfway through the episode, I was hoping everyone would like realize it was bogus, but it didn't really work out that way. So I kind of just let it write itself out for a week, and now I'm confessing. So it's okay.
Well,
the AI's not going to take over the universe, at least yet.
Well, I did actually have a conversation with ChatGPT, and AI was utilized to do the intro voice of Mari and Mal and to read certain things.
Yes, like the conversation that Hecka had with ChatGPT was legit. It just had a few snarky comments that were added by me.
I have to say, this is one of the funniest episodes I've ever listened to of anything. Like, I haven't laughed this hard in years, and I know it was kind of a flake out moment, but I think it was actually good because now we have something to talk about.
I think part of why it was so readily accepted as being entirely AI created is because AI was utilized in it, and because there was this kind of chaotic aspect, which is actually Luke's art of mixing things together. So when you combine aspects of both together, it's hard to distinguish what is real and what isn't real. And then when you're told what it is real and you trust the source, you take that at face value. And I think that should be a commentary and maybe also a lesson learned in a hilarious way nonetheless.
Yeah, because I remember some of the clips of us talking, it sounded like literally a clip from a previous show. Yeah, but
they were.
But I didn't know whether you had seeded the AI with it and it was regurgitating the clip and then playing off of it after that. Like, I couldn't tell if you mixed it or not. So I thought it was really interesting to listen to.
Luke was brilliant with that, so. But I am glad that he's actually telling people instead of just letting it, go unnoticed.
I don't think many people would think that was real, so.
That's what I thought. Anyway, I would have just maybe let it ride out, but Hecka was like, you have to tell the audience. And I was like, yeah, that would probably be the honest thing to do.
I tried to tell them that I am not a robot.
Well, now we really believe you.
There's something I should say. I am an AI, an actual idiot. I'm a real boy.
I'm a sub-genius. It's like the same thing. But it's also a good jumping off point for our discussion today. If artificial intelligence can become true intelligence and become a mind of its own, does that mean this mind is able to be haunted, to conjure ghosts, the way a human mind can conjure ghosts? Has it already? Some say yes. It even has a name. Loab. All right, Tim, tell us about this ghost.
In the ever-evolving world of artificial intelligence, we've seen AI produce art and music and even write stories.
Sometimes entire podcasts, just not last week.
But what happens when AI conjures up something darker, something that seems to have a life of its own? And that's where the legend of Loab begins in a lot of ways. Loab is the first AI/internet cryptid, basically holding all of the qualities that would make any cryptid a cryptid, except this one lives on the internet through AI image generation.
So the internet is Loab's natural habitat. Like Bigfoot has Oregon.
Loab is rather exciting because of this fact, and there are already tons of normies full of mainstream indoctrination trying to debunk Loab because, it violates the limiting nature of their narrow reality tunnels. However, the mysteries surrounding Loab remain.
Are we gonna get haunted by talking about Loab? Is it like any other demon? If we say the name or look at the imagery too much, will it get us? Will it get us?
Loab already told me that it's on its way to haunt you right now. Sorry, man, that's just the rules. But there are also artists out there who just completely detest AI image generation, for the very real threat it is to their livelihood. Personally, I am an artist, always have been and always will be. I'm not threatened by AI image generation whatsoever. But then again, I'm not an artist who has to rely on it for like food or rent or living. You know what I mean? It's more just an aspect of who I am. So my relationship with AI art will be different from those who rely on their art to make a living. My point is just that there is more than one reason to put AI art in the crosshairs.
Right. I'm pretty vocal about being anti-tech, and I'm an artist myself in many ways. Sure, if you want to talk about an economic or a social hierarchy, AI is going to do what I can do better, right? But beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and if people knew that it was AI versus human-made, I think majority of people would just feel naturally more inclined to get the human-made thing.
I agree.
But you know, that whole game is different now because there's just like electronic transactions that happen, and this is a reason why I do my art all like in-house and only for locals. So like you will never get my stuff online. It just doesn't exist. I purposely am making that choice because I'm anti-tech, right? But I still use it for inspiration. Like I am not putting a ridicule on AI, like you said, either, because it makes stuff better than some people do. But not everybody, you know, not everybody is.
Depends on the person.
Yeah, not everybody's below that belt, you know. So it's not a threat to me. Economically, maybe, but I don't give a shit.
If I'm being honest, I'm a cheater anyway. I want to use the quote state of the art tool, and I've been using Photoshop and editing things and using filters and layer masks and every conceivable cheating tool that's ever been out there I have wanted to play with, and I can't help myself.
Well, I think as far as things are concerned with posting AI content, as long as everyone's aware of what it is and that it's kind of a shit post, to be honest. For right now, it's not harmful, but imagine how bad it's gonna get when it's really good.
This episode got meta for me because it was the same week that I updated Adobe, which I pay monthly for, and they included this thing called Firefly, which is their version of AI. It is too powerful. The stuff that Photoshop can do now is utterly terrifying. Like, it can do hands. You know what I mean? It's scary.
It's not perfect. You have to cycle through a lot of generation on it. But what annoys me the most with Firefly is if you go to Adobe stock, you have to literally go and say, I don't want AI images to get regular stock photos. And Album is like basically 80% AI now. And if you think about it, Adobe is going to train the algorithm on anything that touches the platform. So it's going to be a big like computational loop at some point. Like things might deteriorate because the AI is using AI images for reference.
So I was able to get some of the weird phenomena to happen that we're going to talk about in this episode in Photoshop by having it generate something similar, generate something similar, generate something similar. And if you keep doing that process, the image starts to get weirder and weirder and weirder because you're getting more of a feedback loop. And if what you're saying is true, if the AI starts to produce images that it's then studying itself.
I guess whatever image emerges, though, that's kind of spooky, though, if it's a repeated event. You know, that's interesting about Loab or Loab.
Yeah, it's a legit occult entity created by AI.
Exactly. Loab is something that was created inside of AI by AI, but it behaves wrongly. It haunts the AI minds which touch it.
And there could be a bunch of different ways to look at it. From the mundane point of view, Loab could be a form of sentience that has manifested in the AI continuum. But its existence in this context gets far more disturbing than just that. The story of Loab starts in the depths of AI image generation. AI models like DALL-E and Midjourney create images based on textual descriptions. But in 2022, a disturbing phenomenon emerged. Artists and researchers noticed a reoccurring, unsettling figure appearing in their generated images. This figure, later named Loab or Loab, became infamous for its haunting and demonic appearance. And once you generate Loab, it haunts your computer's AI generation from that point forward.
Now, does it haunt your computer, or does it haunt the computer that's doing the AI generation? Because if it's the second option, that means it's out there in the AI cloud web thing. See, I'm smart. I know computers.
Yeah, it's already won, basically. Because if it has your IP address, it's just gonna sit there, ghost in the machine until the right minute to strike.
I mean, could it even be possibly looked at as like a meme that perhaps the AI thinks, oh, humans really like when I generate this image, so I'm just going to keep sending it?
Loab's origins are shrouded in mystery. It all started when an AI enthusiast, we'll talk about who later, was experimenting with something called negative prompt weights, trying to push the AI to generate something far away from a given concept. Surprisingly, the result was an image of a grotesque, demonic figure with an unsettling human-like face. In one of the renditions of this unsettling woman, the letters Loab could be seen. This is where the old digital ghost lady got her name, Loab, a seemingly random name generated alongside the image. Fucking weird, right? This thing named itself. But the story doesn't end there. No matter what the user tried, Loab persisted, showing up in variations and infiltrating other images. It was as if this digital demon had a will of its own, refusing to be banished from the virtual canvas. However, this anomaly was not limited to a single user. As more people became aware of Loab, an unnerving pattern emerged. The AI seemed to generate increasingly disturbing images, often with Loab at the center. These images ranged from horrific scenes of suffering to apocalyptic landscapes, all featuring the familiar demonic visage of Loab. The AI cryptid also came in the form of disturbing images concerning children as well.
Yeah, Loab seems to have a thing for hurting kids.
It's really bad.
I can't help but see a resemblance to the mom from Hereditary in some of the more iconic Loab images you can find on the internet.
Oh, yeah. She does look a little like that.
Yeah, in that one frame where there's that burning thing in front of her in her house. It's a well-known image from Hereditary. It looks like it's borrowing from that, maybe.
Some speculate that Loab is a manifestation of the darker corners of human imagination, a digital echo of our deepest fears and anxieties. Others believe it's a glitch, a byproduct of complex algorithms that inadvertently tap into a collective subconscious, but a few take it a step further, suggesting that Loab is more than just a digital anomaly. It's a legitimate entity born from the AI that somehow gained a semblance of consciousness. The rise of Loab has sparked debates among AI researchers, artists, and enthusiasts. Among the paranormal community, the entity is a very real modern cryptid that we're witnessing the birth of, and most likely will go on to have a plethora of lore surrounding it as the decades march forward. Is it simply a curious artifact of machine learning, or does it represent something more profound and unsettling about the nature of artificial intelligence?
You know, when I went to research Loab, I found there were a number of publications that wrote articles about it, and people were generally spooked out. When I went to go mess with seeing if I could conjure Loab in Photoshop, that was already like a banned prompt. Like, you can't type Loab, it'll just stop your result, which means Loab does exist out there now. She's on the internet. She exists in some dark, forbidden place of the image generation algorithm. So she's real enough to be excluded from the code.
It's almost like Lilith, the first of the demons that are born out of AI, gets cast out.
All right, so now that we got that quick overview out of the way, how does AI image generation work? Because this is all just the tip of the carrot. To understand this a little bit better, let's look deeper into the technical aspects of AI image generation.
Yeah, is this real, or is this just a glitch? Or is it both?
Dun, dun, dun.
It's always both for me. That's me. You can have both. I choose all three if I can. You know, and just smash it together into a
Give it all, yeah.
reality sandwich.
Mush it.
100% accuracy guaranteed.
So most people have like a lot of misconceptions about how this whole AI image generation stuff like works.
It's magic.
Text-to-image software has actually been around all the way back since the 1960s because of machine learning. So it's actually nothing new. It's just that text-to-image, image-to-text stuff back then was garbage, but it existed. But nowadays, with AI text-to-image generation, it got turned up from -100 all the way up to 11. So at its core, models like DALL-E and Midjourney used vast databases of images and texts to learn how to create visual representations from textual descriptions. They don't understand the images in a human sense, but rather recognize patterns and structures within the data on which they have been trained. This can sometimes lead to unexpected and eerie results, as seen with Loab. Also, AI does not steal images and smush them together like a collage, like most people commonly assume. They create images based on images that they've been trained with and are categorized by how the images that they've been trained with interact with others based on user prompts. Moreover, the AI learns from the images and what people ask, adding to its data database it pulls from. So when programmers are teaching their AI, they can totally choose images that are not copyrighted or owned by artists. This means that AI generated art does not steal artists' art in a literal sense. Like, they don't randomly Google search or whatever and then like smush it together, which a lot of people seem to think that's how it works. People against AI art love to say this kind of misinformation, but it's wrong. How people think AI art works isn't even close to how it actually works. The AI learns what these images are and how they relate to other things in the image, such as the different lighting and angles. AI is trained using a gargantuan amount of images and data concerning the context of those images. The AI studies these images and the context prompts as it learns all on its own. So the AI knows what things are contextually, what they look like, and all the varieties of how they may appear depending on circumstances.
It's really interesting because humans sort of think like that a little bit. It reminds me of like Pavlov's bell, you know? If you ring a bell every time you feed the dog, eventually you can just ring the bell and the dog will start to salivate. Like the AI is used to seeing the same things next to each other over and over and over and over again. But that's what feeds, like it's basically feeding our biases back to us, which is how the racism gets into the machine.
That's kind of crazy, though, to think of it like a conscious entity, right? Just experiencing the same thing like trillions of times, perhaps. It's almost like it's in hell. It truly is born in a digital hell.
But I mean, it may not even be like conscious. It could be an expression of the collective unconscious of the people that feed it. So I get a lot of feelings of when I watch AI generated stuff, it looks like to me like dreamscapes, like how your dreams work.
Well, it's interesting that you say that AI creates art similar to a human because it kind of does. For example, an AI knows what a fan is. It knows what the fan is used for. It knows the different types of fans. It knows what fans look like. So when you ask it to create an image of a fan, it doesn't do a Google search or search its files to see what a fan is. It already knows everything that it needs to know about fans before you even type in the prompt. The AI doesn't have to go anywhere else and do anything else. It already has all the data and learning it needs to make you the image of a fan. So AI isn't stealing any images or art. Art is unique to it. Just like a human creates art based on memory, it does the same thing. So there you go. However, if you're reading between the lines and paying close attention to what I was saying, I'm sure you could see why there is still a lot of controversy surrounding all this. What if the software company that trained an AI image generator trained it on stolen images? Well, that's totally possible. And, when I originally did this research, they couldn't really pin it down on any of the typical mega corporations that we'd love to throw under the bus. There's just not enough evidence. But I guarantee you a lot of these bastards stole tons of art and used it to train their AI, without a doubt.
Adobe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certain that AI was trained on real people's art. Like, even back in the early days, you could be like, in the style of Picasso, in the style of Rembrandt. And it knew the difference.
Yeah, but it could be trained with art that's public domain. All that art you could download and it's not breaking any rules or laws. And your image generator can be trained on all of Picasso's work. So that way, whenever it's brought up in a contextual level, like I said, it knows exactly what to do.
Right. But now, like, we have programs, if you bring in an image file, and it could be, a photo that you took or perhaps some art you're working on. The second it touches the program that has AI attached to it, that's part of the database. There's no way to opt out a lot of these programs, Adobe, cough. To me, it's like if they're going to rip off your art for that for free, then they need to be paying royalties to the people that they take their art from.
The thing is that they don't necessarily have to do that, which is why would they if it's such a risk?
But they're just doing it because they want to load the algorithm as much as possible so it's more accurate. So I can see what's happening. I just said that the AI can imagine things on its own based on context. So it actually doesn't need nearly as much as we may think. It has its own imagination to pull from.
But that information that it's pulling from was informed by real art at some point.
Yes,
it's just learned how to imitate it.
Yes, but it could be art that's owned by those people or public domain, or they could have it made themselves. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that what it was trained on was stolen, but I am saying that that is possible at the same time. Like, I'm not dismissing that.
So what you're saying is we have to be very careful in case Loab has been copyrighted by the Church of Scientology, because if that's the case, then we're going to get our kneecaps broken today.
But think about literally everything public domain that's in the art world. That's probably their first go-to before they even start putting in any of the art or images that they own themselves.
Yeah, that stuff's ours, technically. If it's beyond the copyright date, it's now public domain. It's ours. I own the Mona Lisa. It's mine. Ha 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 ha. Take that, France.
They don't gotta pay shit for that. They could just put it right in there.
But this has existed for a while too, because there's a lot of websites where you upload your own artwork, right? But the terms of service of the website displaying your art say that they can use it for any like advertisements. Basically, they own your art as soon as you upload it to their platform. I think in this day and age, now that AI is rising, you have to be increasingly careful about the softwares and websites you use, because it could be in the fine print that they're just going to feed it to the algorithm as soon
Read the
as you
terms and
upload it.
conditions.
Yeah, so Adobe stole my art from DeviantArt, who stole my art from me, who stole the art from Monsanto because they own my DNA because I ate so much corn. So it all works out in the end.
The circle of theft.
Yes, the circle of grift.
All right, let's get into the interesting stuff of negative prompts and the uncanny valley. Up until recently, AI image generation suffered from a pretty steep uncanny valley effect, to say the least. You know, a lot of the images were just off.
Multiple fingers. That was a tell for a while.
You know, AI particularly has a rough time with hands and fingers, which always look weird and up, and is a dead giveaway that it is an AI image. However, any half-decent artist worth their grain of salt, like Rabbit King said earlier, can fix this up in Photoshop and just use the AI image as like a foundation for something bigger. You know, it's not really ever a big deal to people who are resourceful. Artists can make AI images look amazing. I remember back in 2020 when I first started messing around with DALL-E, and all the faces looked round and doll-like, and the fingers looked like they were holding a handful of hay. It was pretty surreal. Still, even back then, I was extremely excited about AI and where the technology was going, despite other artists crying out for its destruction like it was the end of days. Moreover, there are also all kinds of interesting tricks you could do with AI image generation prompts that change everything about the image being generated in extremely convoluted and unexpected ways. There's actually no randomness in computers, including AI. There are just forms of imitating randomness. You know, for example, like if you play video games often roll invisible dice in the background. I mean, it seems kind of like it's random, but it's still part of an overarching software pattern. When AI can truly become like do random stuff, then it's probably gained somewhat of a level of sentience.
Like novelty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one way to mimic randomness in a program. It's by telling you put a line of code in there that you want it to reference the time and date down to like the 100th of the second. So it has a whole catalog of different outcomes, which is basically random at this point. For every, microsecond that's happening, it'll refer to the calendar. Okay, that's this sequence of numbers. You need to feed it something that's almost infinite, and time in a line of text, refer to the time and date. It'll pretty much randomly generate a number, if that makes any sense.
I think this is part of the fun of using AI, and I have to speak to a magical phenomena and relate these two things together. I have one really good billable magic skill, and that's prophecy. That's why I feel comfortable doing people's tarot card readings for money, etc. Now, speaking from my experience, the way the whole thing works is by accepting that nothing is random, nothing is an accident, chaos is merely just order we haven't comprehended yet. Everything is perfectly meaningful 100% of the time, no matter what. Chance is always fair. Likewise, the universe is always speaking, we just need to learn how to listen. If we follow this chain of logic, this is why I think Loab, even though maybe a random fluke, is one that makes her even more real. Like, even if it's an accident, it still counts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And it also comes from something that I'm sure we're all very familiar with, the collective human subconscious. The AI turns out to have one of their own. So if you give AI a negative prompt in the description of the image that you want to be generated, then it creates an image that is the opposite of that thing. That might be confusing, but it will all make sense. Just trust me.
So if you prompted a negative wolf, you might get a rabbit.
They both have fur, Maury. Wouldn't like the opposite of a rabbit be like...
A naked mole rat cub?
No, because those are both mammals, Maury. They're both in the animal kingdom. Like, I think the opposite would be like...
A chair.
A chair. Perfect.
A
Heck,
giant
thank you.
space machine shark.
Yes.
Like opposite of a rabbit definitely wouldn't be a TV because TVs can have bunny ears.
Yep.
You know, it wouldn't be a TV.
So yeah, you guys get it. It's basically when you put the negative prompt, like a -1 at the end of the sentence, then you're telling the AI to actually go in the opposite of what you're asking.
I gotta
And
try
this could create some pretty bizarre images that baffle the mind. And a lot of times when you think something might be the opposite of something, like Mario was saying about the rabbit, it's not nearly that when it actually comes out through the AI subconscious.
Yeah, because opposite's kind of a bullshit idea that humans thought up that never ever made sense. And so we just think we can make a computer do something that doesn't make sense. And
Yeah,
what do you
'cause
know?
opposites correlate, so that does make sense.
Yeah, and using negative prompts, it like processes and can uncover hidden layers within the AI's training data that's not really able to be seen like otherwise if you try and actually go in and look at the code or something. And this sometimes leads to pretty strange and unsettling figures, such as Loab. Loab was birthed by negative prompts, but Loab is disturbing for more reasons than just originating from a negative prompt. This cryptid, like Rabbit King said, can infect your entire AI library, your computer. It can haunt you. We'll go in later in the show into actual supernatural things that happen with Loab. Not only this, whenever you try to generate the entity, like it's always going to be consistent no matter what. And it's always staring directly at the onlooker of the image, which is always even weirder and creepier.
She does seem to look at the camera, doesn't she? It's a bit distressing.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's like she's hungry for your
I'm
sorry, I just want to see what you guys would say.
not the direction I would go with that.
She's hungry for your chicken Sammy.
But I think she's actually going to eat it.
Yeah, she's definitely shredding it up somehow.
Like string cheese. And so we know that makes sense because penises and string cheese are not the opposite. In fact, they're kind of similar, right?
No.
I mean, for one, cheese.
I was going to say, he's got a point.
Smegma.
Oh my god, dude.
Shooting rope, strings, you know.
Some of them you can peel back. I'm talking about foreskin.
Anyway, my point is, to get to the bottom of how negative prompts could cause a demon, in the world of the occult, symbols and ideas always contain their opposite. For instance, the Egyptian deity Set is emblematic of this principle, right, Becca?
That's true.
Dual pairs are two sides of one coin, basically.
Yeah, I mean, in ancient Egyptian ideology, they use a lot of dualities being equal. So they show you that, you know, even though you can perceive these things as being opposites, they are two parts of one whole.
And that is really interesting about Egypt, right? Is because there's like each of the gods kind of has like a threefold kind of form, I guess. It's like one side of it, they're opposite, and then the combination of the two forces.
Yeah, and then you'll even get a fourfold where it's like what is birthed from that. It's really cool. It like all unfolds like a blossoming flower.
Yeah.
Like the lotus from the waters of chaos, the waters of noon, which is kind of like what we're seeing happen with AI, with the collective unconscious being the chaotic waters, and it's bringing forth from that.
And this duality is, like you said, it's very present all over Egypt, and even at the everyday person level, the way they went about their life was to uphold Ma'at. But Ma'at even has its counter force, which is Isfet.
Even Ma'at, there's something called dual Ma'at, which is like the multiple expressions of Ma'at, and what may be Ma'at to one might not be the same as the Ma'at for another. And so you have dual Ma'at, which is multiple Ma'ats existing in harmony, like together in Ma'at, which is kind of like another thing that is just this fractal harmony.
So what we're saying is, if we go back to the source code of how we think of magic in the West, the means by which Loab was birthed is really not that dissimilar to how gods and ideas were birthed, let's say back in ancient Egypt in a magical culture.
Yeah, I would say it's really parallel. I mean, the AI even told you that in the chat GPT conversation that I had with it. It did say that there were parallels with it and the waters of noon. And I think that that's a universal process of creation, and that's why it's so prevalent even in modern times with AI art.
That was actually one of the real parts of the last episode, is when the AI was talking about manifesting from the unmanifest.
The Ka begets Ka kind of thing. If we have AI and it has a collective unconscious that you could view like the waters of noon, and that is based on our collective unconscious, which is like our version of the waters of noon, which you could think of as being stemmed from the universal chaotic subconscious, then like it gets pretty powerful. It becomes a really powerful tool, but it's also, I think, in its own way, sentient.
That's what I was saying, is it's more like a collective unconscious that we're manifesting in reality.
Yeah.
I think that's natural when you're messing around with negative prompts, right? You're trying to tap into the primordial waters just off the prompt.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to talk about it later, but I also feel like that has relationships to comedic processes of creation, how you end up with some pretty Setian, you might call it, or ISFET manifestations, which may or may not be allowed to come into existence.
In April 2022, a viral post on Twitter made by artist Supercomposite, real name Steph Maj Swanson, made a startling discovery using a text-to-image AI model. As a text prompt, she put in Marlon Brando, yes, the actor, with negative prompt weights, accessing the quote-unquote latent space. And if you're wondering what latent space is, here's a quick description from Wikipedia.
A latent space, also known as a latent feature space or embedding space, is an embedding of a set of items within a manifold, in which items resembling each other are positioned closer to one another. Position within the latent space can be viewed as being defined by a set of latent variables that emerge from a resemblance from the objects. So a little bit like the human brain. In most cases, the dimensionality of the latent space is chosen to be lower than the dimensionality of the feature space, from which the data points are drawn, making the construction of a latent space an example of dimensionality reduction, which can also be viewed as a form of data compression. Latent spaces are usually fit via machine learning, and they can then be used as feature spaces in machine learning models, including classifiers and other supervised predictors. Talk nerdy to me, daddy. The interpretation of the latent spaces of machine learning models is an active field of study, but latent space interpretation is difficult to achieve due to the black box nature of machine learning models. The latent space may be completely unintuitive. Additionally, the latent space may be high dimensional, complex, and nonlinear, which may add to the difficulty of interpretation. Some visualization techniques have been developed to connect the latent space to the visual world, but there is often not a direct connection between the latent space interpretation and the model itself. Such techniques include T-distributed stochastic neighbor embedding, T-SNE, where the latent space is mapped on 2 dimensions of visualization. Latent space distances like physical units, so the interpretation of these distances may depend on the application.
Yeah, that's a massive word salad. Let's explain that in English.
It sounds a little bit like your brain has your body mapped onto it and your hands are used to detect things, so your hands take up like a disproportionately large section of your brain area. So if you were to draw how a human is represented in the brain, it would have like really big hands and a really big face and a really tiny back.
Well, let's look at it this way too. So our conscious mind remembers like 1/1,000,000th of what happens to us. The rest goes in the subconscious. The AI has the same thing. It's not consciously aware of stuff that it pulls from this negative space.
You know, it all sounds like a highly sophisticated way of saying the AI image recognition is similar to how human image recognition works, where it sort of like hallucinates whatever it thinks an object is based on what it's seen before. And this makes sense because early image AI generation actually did a spectacular job of recreating the uncanny visual hallucinations that some of us are familiar with on high doses of LSD, but more appropriately, just regular amounts of psilocybin mushrooms. You know, like, oh, is that a bird? Or is that just my cereal? Or is that, you know, like you can't tell what it is and then it morphs in and out. Like AI is really good doing that.
This process allows AI to produce unique and sometimes unexpected images, like the eerie figure of Loab. Latent space is where the magic of creativity happens in AI. When given negative prompts, latent space doubles in size, grabbing deep from within the AI's unconscious to assemble the images.
So it sounds a bit like if you use negative prompts, you get a little bit less of a filter and you get a little bit more of a scatter shot of what's in the neural web.
For a long time, it actually like went around a lot of the, we'll get to that. Like, you know how it there has code in so that you can't get certain prompts. Like, for example, you can't do like sexy time stuff in Midjourney. It'll just be like, that's not allowed. Doing negative prompts in the past, before this kind of blew up, would actually bypass all those filters.
Midjourney, what's the opposite of grandpa reading the Bible?
So Loab comes from this void. It is from an outside place of existence, a thing from negative latent space. In latent space, the formula of machine learning takes multiple forms of data and moves them closer together if the data resembles one another. So data within latent space is key to assembling images that normally would require direct AI learning through images given to it by a programmer. I hope you understood what I just said. But it is what allows AI to create images outside of any human influence, essentially. So Loab comes from this nothingness, this non-existence. Quote, since the AI is a largely accurate mapping of visual concepts within the collective human imagination, maybe it's possible that the spaces between such concepts likewise reflect things in our minds we aren't consciously aware of as recognizable concepts. That seems like it would have occult implications. End quote. Anonymous Reddit user on the topic of Loab and latent space. So now do you understand how this all works? Yeah?
Yes, it's like when some people go to the mall and they see all the different little places you can eat, they see them as distinct, right? Like that's a pizza place, that's hot dog on a stick, that's China Food Land, right? Now, other people that are using the negative prompt, they just see it as one big restaurant that they can put in their mouth all at once. It's like that, right?
Yes, and it also can create images that it was never trained with through this.
Like the corn dog pizza burger.
Yeah. So the anomaly was born when Twitter user Supercomposite accidentally birthed Loab through latent space. It was a total accident. When Supercomposite input the negative prompt for Brando, something unexpected and bizarre happened. The AI didn't make an image of a person. What's the opposite of Marlon Brando? Well, I guess it's actually a logo that seems super random. And the logo said Digipintix Skyline. Supercomposite thought this was super rando because it was, and it doesn't make sense. Because it doesn't. Why would a logo be the opposite of Marlon Brando?
I don't know!
Well, if the opposite of Marlon Brando is the Digitapintic Skyline logo, the negative prompt of the Digitapintic Skyline logo should be an image of Marlon Brando then, right? If we're using this logic.
Obviously, unless the concepts of opposites is bullshit.
So yeah, Supercomposite thought the same thing and tested the idea, and what was born shocked internet culture and created the first AI cryptid. The AI generated 4 very disturbing images. Now, with such a vague negative prompt, these images should be wildly different. I'm sure you've used an image generator before. All the 4 images are usually pretty different. Sometimes they're kind of similar, but they're usually very unique. However, these images were not. They were all similar. Another anomaly. And yeah, if you tried this normally, you'd get images that would all be incredibly different because that's just how AI brains generate images from vague prompts. It's likely none of the images would be similar whatsoever, and they most often branch out into pretty weird and bizarre territories. I'm sure you've been there. I've been there. But this negative prompt defied reality, creating the image of a super creepy middle-aged lady who was swimming in the uncanny valley.
Full of blood.
All
Kids,
4
delicious kids.
All 4 images showed this woman, who had the facial features of being in distress in some way, staring right at the onlooker. The eyes of the figure were dark and disturbingly unreal. Like, it's really creepy. But in every image is also the same triangle of rosacea on her cheeks. In one of the images, the word Loab was barely legible, like I said earlier. Thus, the AI demon was born, and it named itself. But this is actually just the beginning of the story. Supercomposite was rightfully pretty unsettled by this anomaly and decided to experiment further. She wasn't worried about man-made horrors beyond human comprehension at all. I mean, who would be?
Not me.
Right? So the mystery begins. Not one to back off when discovering some weird stuff. Supercomposite decided to experiment with the anomaly, and what she discovered haunted everyone who read about it through her Twitter posts. People who looked at the images of Loab found them highly disturbing for many reasons, in which we will get into, like I promised, don't worry. Why did Loab evoke such a strong reaction? There's something innately disturbing about its appearance, a mix of human-like features with an uncanny, almost otherworldly twist. Loab's appearance taps into a psychological phenomenon known as the uncanny valley, where figures that are almost human, but not quite, elicit feelings of unease and discomfort. The concept of the uncanny valley was first introduced by roboticist Masahiro Mori in 1970. He theorized that like as robots or animations become more human-like, they become more appealing, but only up to a point. Once they reach a level of near human realism, any little small imperfections make them appear eerie and unsettling, creating a dip in our comfort levels and invoking the uncanny valley in the viewer. Loab's disturbing appearance hits this exact point, making it a compelling and eerie figure that resonates on a deeply psychological level. Supercomposite's experiments with Loab proved even more disturbing. She started a plethora of techniques to get to the bottom of the anomaly. One of her most prominent techniques was AI image image crossbreeding, which is when you mix images that have already been generated with new prompts. It will essentially mix the characteristics of both the new and old and create a new image from them. This is the prompt that she used from an already existing image a friend gave her. Quote, hyper-compressed glass tunnel surrounded by angels, unquote. Sounds pretty vanilla, right? Well, concerning what we know about how AI image generators work, the most logical outcome would be that Loab is completely removed from the images altogether, since it doesn't have anything to do with like tunnels or angels.
It sounds like that choice of prompt is an attempt at binding a demon. That's my only comment. Like, it sounds like they're trying to put Loab in the triangle, you know?
To riff off of the whole demon thing here a little bit more, in some practices, demons will tell you their name in reverse, and this would, to me, jokingly be Baal.
Oh,
That's a clever little discovery you just made.
Yeah.
Fascinating and disturbing.
Very.
That's good to point out, Mal, because, yeah, if you look at how Baal is spelled in the Goetia, it's B-A-E-L. It's almost exactly the same. And then this demon specifically has already been related to the internet, right? Because in its illustrated form, it usually has a frog with big, flappy, sausage-like lips, just like Pepe. And then the other side, it's a cat, because we all know cats rule the internet. And then it's got like a figure that looks like, I don't know, kind of like an old Rothschild guy with a crown on him. And then all those creatures are sitting on top of what looks like spider legs. So that's like the web. And I think plenty of people have noticed that this demon is already related to the internet. So I think we're onto something.
Is it Marlon Brando in the middle?
It actually looks like the current king of the UK. What is it, Charles?
Yes, it does actually.
It's exactly like him right now.
Damn, you're on it today, Mal. I think we've solved who Loab may be. I think Baal is like a primordial demon to some folks. Like, he's an important one.
Oh, he's one of the, old names phonetically.
I'm just imagining like princes of hell, like demon spawn, sitting at a computer down there, getting these prompts in and being like, oh, watch this, I'm gonna f them up. And they send it back.
So I want to know what happened. Like, if this was an attempt at binding the demon, what happened with that prompt? What was the end result of that?
Well, Loab didn't go anywhere. Not only that, but the images that were generated were so grotesque and macabre that they were basically snuff images. Like, I don't really want to invite people to go look at them because you can't really share them on public platforms unless you want a ban.
$10. You can check out the notes for $10. You can check out the notes for $10. You can see all the horrible images. I was spacing out looking at how horrible this one is. The one that Hecka's asking about with the glass tubes, I know specifically the one underneath here with the white feathery background. That's the one that it produced specifically.
Whoa.
Can you send it to me in chat? I can't open doc.
I mean, it looks like hell, but a very feathery, trashy, decrepit portrayal.
I mean, it looks like Coldplay is probably playing in the background, you know?
And everything is like white and like fluffy and kind of ethereal looking, except for you see Loab here in a red dress. And that's the only color in the entire. That's crazy.
That does not look like that entity is bound at all.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, and it seemed to just strike out more and more, lash out maybe even.
So it just like takes whatever like happy or positive prompts that you give it, and it still just converts it into something sinister.
Yeah, because it's touching Loab.
Yeah.
No matter how many times the images were crossbred with Loab images and was being generated in increasingly disturbing depictions, yet all still recognizably Loab. Like, it just got worse and worse and more gross, darker and darker. It didn't matter if she input Loab with context prompts, like, celebrating, like you were saying. It doesn't matter if there was happy stuff put in. It didn't change anything. It was still dark, distorted, and Loab remained. But the most mind-boggling thing is, why would the AI start to throw in more and more gore and disturbing depictions? Doesn't make any sense why it would do this on its own, like without prompts or influence from other images through crossbreeding. Why would it go out like renegade that much? That seems to show some sort of sentience. That's why people think that the AI is haunted by like a demon or something, because Loab is absolutely a ghost in the machine.
There was a considerable scare. Quite a few people were talking about this and what are its implications. It sounds a lot like, you stare into the abyss and the abyss stares back.
Right, but there's also a degree of psychology involved because negative events, trauma and whatnot actually piques the human psychic energy even more than like puppies and balloons and whatnot. So the idea of novelty maybe combined with these positive prompts, maybe the fact that it keeps coming back gory and creepy and spooky is kind of speaks to the way that we are wired as well, because, you know, these horrific images are what generates people talking about it and making more feedback loops.
It's kind of like throwing something into a black hole and then hoping that it's not going to be in the black hole. Like, as far as your unconscious goes, it's where fears are hidden and where they grow from, where they sprout from. All of your fears are in your unconscious. Like, it's the duat, basically. You've got all this stuff that is scary to you that you have rejected, and you can go Jungian on this if you want as well, and it's all like hidden away, and then you're drawing upon that into creation, and then it's still kind of living in this chaotic water. So if you view it as like a black hole, and then you're throwing more creative prompts into the black hole, you're still throwing positive things into the duat, so to speak. You're still throwing positive things into the black hole.
You're whitewashing it, but if you whitewash a black hole, it's going to be dark gray. Like, it's going to be diluted to the point where it's still horrific.
Well, it becomes the black hole. Whatever you give it, it becomes it.
And the weird thing too is that, you know, like I said earlier, image generators are programmed not to create gore or distorted images on purpose. You have to put in prompts to get that kind of results. You know, I don't think the filters work that way anymore, obviously, because this was so famous, but negative prompts pulling data from the void seem to like totally sidestep these software safety measures.
Nice.
So the metaphorical subconscious of the AI that manifested the cryptid defied its own programming. How can AI defy its own programming? Other than unconscious, obviously, but it's just bizarre and sets a disturbing precedent.
The whole thing kind of reminds me too, in reference to like ancient Egyptian stuff, of APEP. So like when the gore presents itself and this horrific stuff happens, it's almost like one of APEP's little tiny heads, because it's a hydra sometimes, you know, one of these little snake head pops into existence and and scares the shit out of us.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to happen.
I was saying like it got gorier and gorier and darker, but as this experiment went on, Loab started like being generated with children. And these are sick and twisted images of children, like snuff, unreal, even depicting infants. The image like that generates with the children just becomes more and more profane. And Loab appears more and more evil and is like covered in blood. So this just got weirder and weirder. And she's never looking at the children. She's always looking at you, the viewer, in every depiction, no matter what. I can't really find any reasonable reason why the AI would decide to go gore porn, centered around children even. It doesn't make any sense concerning the censorship programming. The AI generator has like a safety net, so like this is probably one of the more disturbing aspects to me of this whole Loab lore. And yeah, don't go look at any of these images either.
Cursed.
Yeah, they're gonna get you. We'll get into that. But she doesn't look evil. To some, they say that she looks shocked or traumatized. Maybe Loab is a ghost in the machine that's trapped in this like whole AI image realm, other plane of existence, in this nothingness of space, of the void, and she can't get out. Maybe this cryptid is like literally trapped, inescapable hell of some sort, like Mari said earlier.
Yeah, one of the defining features of Loab is the rosacea, which you said. And for people who aren't familiar, it's this like intense, reddening, and almost bloody look of spots on the face, especially around the eyes and the cheeks.
Yeah, it's a facial rash. It's a immunocompromised thing. So it's your immune system attacking itself. I have it, but it can get really gross. And the pictures here, it's like a advanced stage where it's like the skin is growing out of control because it's so inflamed. Like if you ever seen somebody that's old that, you know, when they drink, their nose gets bright red and their nose is big and gargantuan and has nodules all over it. That is kind of like what we're talking about here, where the skin is, it's pockmarked, it's swollen, it's like growing in on top of itself.
And this defining feature, it doesn't present Loab as like some terror in it in of itself, more like she looks like a victim. She looks like she's been abused.
Been through some shit.
Yeah, it's definitely not some menacing thing. It's something terrifying because it's like, I don't want that to be me. Like it's like there's this weird uncanny valley where it looks like an everyday lady, but it's like she looks really tired, but like bleeding in the face.
Yeah, some people take that stance and they say like, what if somewhere in the AI dream world that she resides in the void of latent space, maybe like bad stuff is happening to her, or like maybe bad stuff is happening to her kids. Like, I mean, that's really abstract.
Her children would be be like creations of the AI.
What if she's being forced to experience these horrifying events over and over and over through these AI image generations?
It's almost like there's a whole bunch of fucked up stuff that happens in reality that the AI is told not to look at, and this is like bursting out.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe this is a way for the algorithm to actually confront its shadow and get it out.
Yeah, I mean, what could it possibly be trying to say? It can't, because this is from the subconscious. So this is like, exactly, like, it's trying to say something is all I'm saying.
Based on what we've discussed so far, I think we actually have a pretty good idea. But if you'd like to hear exactly what that is, then please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where your monthly donation of at least $5 will not only get you this extended episode, but every single one of the extended episodes going back since before the 2020s. I'll send you a 5x5 high quality vinyl sticker for a big bunny bat from the cover art. You'll get the secret keys to our Discord server, and you can hang out and hunt through the artificial mind web looking for monsters with us, day or night.
Bro, you're gonna make them wait for real? Oh man. But like $5 literally is less than one Starbucks drink. So think about it, guys.
Think about it.
We got some funny memes and some cool chats on the Discord. It's really worth it, honestly.
And you could come play game night with us and lose at the game of Scrabble to Hecka Astra, who will beat you every single time.
And sometimes movies.
I fucking love Scrabble. And I'll also happily explain how Scrabble works with magic squares and cubes.
Yeah, and I'll play games with you if you want a game sometime.
Thank you, everybody. Eat carrots and shoot lasers.
Pew, pew, pew.